we're gonna fly.
Hi guys, Leo's here, CEO and founder of 𝗙𝗍𝗀𝗧𝗍 Educations. And in today's podcast, we have with us Miss Sonya. She is an expert in nurse recruitment, and she has been doing this for many, many years, and she has received so many applications, so many resumes, so she understands better than anyone else about how you can successfully land a job as a nurse and how you should present yourself so that you can have a better chance of getting selected. And hopefully today she will share with you some of her wisdom, some of her advice, so many of you watching this can learn about how you can increase your chance exponentially to get a job in nursing. But thank you for doing this, first of all, Sonya.
It's no problem.
Yeah, Sonya, so let's just kickstart. Can you just, first of all, introduce a bit about yourself so my audience can understand a bit of who you are and what you've been doing?
Sure. So we have an agency in Tasmania called Pulse Nursing Employment. We've been around about 11 years. We work in the north of Tasmania, recruiting nurses for the acute sector, aged care, community, and various other areas. So our nurses all work on a casual basis and really fill the gaps with sick leave, holiday leave, shortfalls and rosters, that sort of thing. So we just work with registered and enrolled nurses.
Got you. And so you say that you pretty much you help this, you bridge this enrolled nurse and this registered nurse with these different aged care center, different hospitals and things like that, right? So you
yes,
bring
that's
them
right.
together.
Yep.
Yeah. Great. So so the first question would be, a lot of my graduates, they have done in nursing, some have done a diploma in nursing. So is that enough in terms of qualification for them to kickstart working as a nurse, or should they have any extra certificate so they can start looking for jobs as a nurse?
So Leo, what you're saying, they've done their 3 years registered nursing?
Yeah, so they have done a 3 years
Yes.
of Bachelor of Nursing.
Yep.
Yes.
Fantastic. Yes, look, that's all they really need. As I sort of said to you before, it's a little difficult to get that first foot in the door and get some experience, which is, I guess, the other thing they need. Sometimes when nurses are doing their degree or studying, they'll work as a carer, personal carer in aged care, something health related to give them a bit of a foot in the door so they have some idea of how those places work when they graduate. But essentially that is all they should need, is their diploma or their degree, their qualification in nursing.
I got you. So those are pretty much sufficient, but as you say, it's really good for them to get the foot in the door by maybe starting working in an aged care center as a personal carer first before becoming a full-on registered.
That's right. Yeah.
Got you. And do you see that in Tasmania there are lots of careers, lots of jobs available in this industry? Do you see that happening?
Look, Tasmania is, I guess, smaller than the big cities, so there is a little less because we don't have as big an infrastructure. But aged care and the large hospitals, they seem to always be looking for staff. So, they would say in general there's a nursing shortage in Tasmania.
I got you. So where would you suggest them to look for this vacancy? Is it just purely those Seek, Indeed, Zora, or is there any specific website that you would suggest them to go in to find these jobs?
Well, there's a lot of public, the public hospitals have a lot of websites. Well, they have a large website that they do their recruitment through, which is just under the THS, which is the Tasmanian Health Service. So they post all of their jobs there. I would say that's a really good place to start.
Yeah.
otherwise, it's really with aged care, it's getting the old phone book or some sort of search engine to tell you what all the aged care homes are and where they are, and applying directly.
Yeah, yeah. So, for example, you mean they can go to the website of these aged care centers
Yes.
and
Yes.
apply through those website too?
Absolutely. Because it's not always easy to be here in person. If they were here physically in Tasmania, I would say to dress up smartly, take their resume and go and knock on some doors.
Yeah, yeah. And I believe that it sounds like you have done that yourself before. Is it? Have you done that before? Have you been, I mean, long time ago, have you ever picked up a CV and just...
Long time ago, yes. Because
you sound like you've done that. That's why I have to
yeah.
And yes, it works pretty well, right?
Many years ago. I think it works. I think going in person, it's obvious you're making an effort, you're really keen. You may not get to see the right person, but you may have made a first impression, you've left your resume with them. I would still follow up make sure you're still on their website list. And you could follow up with a phone call a week later to say, you know, I popped in and left my resume, just wondering if you're taking people on or hiring. But I think these days a lot of the hiring is done online to start with. You know, that's how you get a start off. But
okay.
Definitely.
Yeah. Now you say a very good point there, Sonia, because so you're suggesting these graduates to simply be confident, you know, just print out their CV, just yep. Come in and say hi, introduce themselves. However, the truth of the matter is, I've seen a lot of them. They're a bit scared. They're a bit
yes.
Afraid, hesitate.
Yep. Understand.
Because they're afraid that they might offend these people, or they're afraid that they might disrupt their day. So, what would you say to these people who have this sort of, you know, mentality in their mind?
Well, I think you just have to try and be a little more confident. You're not offending anyone by knocking on the door and leaving your resume. That's really not going to put anyone off or offend them. But you've made an impression that you're keen and that you're looking for work. You've made an effort to walk in the door and hand your resume personally. I think it goes back to that personal touch. Yeah, you got nothing to lose.
Exactly. Yeah, and I told them all the time, you just have to man up and just be confident. And yeah. Worst thing is they say no. Best thing is you have a job. So
that's right.
I mean, it could not get worse than that.
Yeah, exactly.
Which brings me perfectly to the next point is with this whole COVID-19 going on, do you see that there is actually a bigger demand for nurse, or you see that there is actually a decrease in demand for nurse?
Definitely a decrease.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of our work is done with our agency nurses in aged care, but they have shut the doors and said, no agency, no extra staff coming in and or out. We will make do with our own staff. So we are very quiet at the moment. We're sending staff to the big public hospital because they are still under pressure. But in general, yes, it's very quiet. There are a lot of nurses without work at the moment.
I got you. And do you see that we are bouncing back? Do you see that there's a bit of hope coming up after it seems that the whole thing is subsiding now? Do you see there's any hope coming up?
Yes, I think so. I think it will take time. It will be slow, but it will happen. We're doing well. We're over 2 weeks now with no new cases, so we're moving in the right direction. But I think it's still going to take just a little more time.
I got you. Yes, and I believe in that. And again, this is for those of you out there who is a bit negative. This news is just like anything else. You know, the bad things come and it will go. It's not going to be forever.
No,
yeah. And I mean, which brings what's that?
Generally, you know, it's very, very rare to see nurses out of work. Very uncommon. But these are strange times. Yeah.
And when it comes to looking for jobs in the nurse in Tasmania, because a lot of my students, they are more concentrated in Hobart. would you
Yes.
recommend them to actually looking outside of Hobart to, let's say, Launceston, like where you at, or maybe Burnie, or those other areas outside of
Yeah.
Hobart?
I
Is a good
don't
approach.
think it hurts to look everywhere at all. I think sometimes places like Burnie struggle to get nurses even more. So if they're happy to live in those areas, I would say that's a good shot. I guess Hobart, you have a bigger infrastructure again than Launceston. You've got probably larger private hospitals, more aged care. But then Launceston is worthwhile too. But certainly the Burnie and the Northwest area, I think they find it hard to attract staff.
When you say northwest area, can you name me the exact area you're thinking of in the northwest?
Well, definitely Burnie, Latrobe, Devonport. They're all smaller places, but I think they do sometimes struggle to get staff. St Helens, East Coast.
East Coast, yeah. Wow, fantastic information there. Because I always tell them that, maybe just look it outside of Hobart. It's not just always Hobart. There are other areas looking for nurses as well. So, but they just thought that, because it's big cities, it's a capital city, so there's more jobs. I say, yes, more jobs, but also mean more competition.
Yes,
So
that's right.
why don't they look at outside? It does help. Yeah, fantastic. And which brings me to the next question, because since you run an agency, I believe you must receive like a lot of resume, a lot of CV sent to you to become the casual workers that you mentioned. Because there's so many resume coming in, what would be the top 3 things you will look at in a resume so that you can choose the right candidates?
Okay. Just clear and to the point. Really, you only really want to look at 3 pages, 3 or 4 pages at the most. So just very structured to the point. These are my qualifications. This is my experience. Just keep it simple.
Yep. And do you suggest them to even mention the experience that is not relating to nursing? Because some of these students, they have worked in, maybe they work in as in a restaurant, or maybe working as like different industry. Should they put that in the CV, or should they just remove it because it doesn't relate to the nursing jobs anyway?
Look, I don't think it hurts, because I think people are generally interested in what you've done before you decided to do your studies in general. Again, because while you were studying, if you happen to work in some sort of health related industry, then that's useful to know. So, but even if you didn't work in the health related, I think it's good to know where you came from. I mean, working in a restaurant is customer service. A lot of nursing is customer service, dealing with people. So, that is somehow relevant still.
I got you. So it depends on how they link that, or how they use that transferable skill to the nursing job.
But it's good to know what you have done as well. So I wouldn't leave it out. Whatever it is, put it in, but just keep it short and to the point.
Yes, I got you. Okay, and what other some qualities are you looking for? I mean, other than experience, because I understand experience is important, but other than experience, what are the top 3 qualities you are looking for in the candidates? Like, do you have any other measure of the right candidates?
I guess it's hard if you can't be specific with experience. No, I think you just need to be clear about your qualifications, your experience, to the point and factual. It's sort of, until I personally meet with everyone that we recruit. So until I meet with people, I guess there's other things I look for once I've met that person and learnt more about them. But that's hard if you're just trying to get that in a resume before you've got the interview. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So to the first impression would be just a clear-cut, specific resume.
Yep.
And once they come in for an interview with you, then you're looking at different factors, right? Maybe
yes.
Is it their friendliness and all that stuff? Is it?
Yep,
the
that's
kindness?
right. Yep. Yep.
Mm.
How they present themselves, how they communicate, in general.
Yeah, because you
Yes.
say the communicate part, that is a very important part. I like to emphasize, because some of my graduates, like I said, they are from migrants background. Some of them came here
Yes.
from Nepal, Bangladesh, like they from different countries. So of course, for some of them, the English is not the first language. So when
No.
you say communicate, it doesn't have to be like they must have very strong English, or could it be just okay, but like easy to hear? Is it sufficient, or it must be like perfect, like 9 out of 9 English? Is that what you're looking
Well,
for?
I guess it needs to be the best they can be. Nursing, a lot of nursing is about communication. So, you know, you've got to converse with doctors, patients, other nurses. So really, it is quite a key point, being able to communicate, I think. So no, not perfect, but if they could practice or you know, develop those skills before they get here, I think it would be a huge advantage.
Yeah, yeah. And which brings me perfectly to the probably last 2 questions here. So now is a lot of my students or my graduates, when they go out and apply for jobs, what happens is they always hear things like, we cannot hire you because you are not a permanent resident, or we cannot hire you because you are not an Australia citizen. So let's just rewind. Let's just say
Yep.
you bring back like 20 something years ago when you just started your career as a nurse. Like, what would you do in that scenario if you are an international student? What would you say to the employer if they
Well,
only in hiring these people?
really, they as long as they have a legal visa or a piece of paper that says they're allowed to work in Australia, then they're allowed to work in Australia. So whether it's a study visa or a work visa, or you know, there's quite a few different sponsorship visas. I know a lot of aged care companies, the larger companies, sorry, my phone's doing something, will sponsor overseas students or overseas nurses. So I think you can't get past that. You have a legal requirement to have something that says you can work in Australia. Really, it shouldn't matter whether you're a permanent resident or a whatever. Sorry, I couldn't remember what you mentioned. As long as you've got a legal document that says you can work here, then you can work here. So it shouldn't really be a stumbling block. So what I would say to them is, yes, you're right. I'm not a permanent resident. However, I do have a visa that says I can work under these conditions, or whatever the conditions on the visa are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand. I totally understand what you mean. So, I mean, that'll be a relief for many of them, because right now that is some of the mental blocks that they have, is
Yes.
that they're afraid that because they don't have the visas yet, they don't, I mean the permanent visa yet, or they're afraid that because they're not an Australia citizen yet, it will stop them from getting employed. But apparently it's not the case. As long as they have
as long as they've got a legal document that says they can work, but they have to have that, really. They can't do anything else.
Of course, that's important. No, I know what you mean by that. Yeah. So, and then which brings me to the experience thing, you know, because everywhere they go, people ask, I need, you know, at least 1 year experience. I need 2 years experience. But for most of them, they are graduates. They just finished their study. They've done a bit of an internship during their study, but that's about it. So what would you recommend them to do so they can acquire this sort of, you know, entry experience? So they'll be more.
That's a real tough one, Leo, because that's a tough one. There's no wonderful answer to that. You really just need to persevere and keep knocking on doors. You know, the larger hospitals do have an intake of grads. They can offer that support to grads because they usually have a program to make sure they get support as they go and learn, get their experience. It's just knocking on doors and keep applying. Really is. I know it's catch-22. It's very difficult because you can't get the experience until you get a job, and then no one's going to give you a job because you haven't got the experience. So it's tough, but you've just got to persevere and keep going, keep knocking on the doors, keep applying, keep getting your resume in front of as many people as you can. And yeah, just get a foot in the door and get some experience. I know that's no wonderful answer, but there's no easy way.
Absolutely. And
maybe,
saying that
maybe also, Leo, be willing to do something that is not perhaps what you've got your heart set on. So, you know, some nurses want to go and work in emergency because it's interesting and it's fast and it's, you know, what they see as a good job, but those jobs are hard to get. So maybe you go and you work in rehab or aged care or community just to get some experience and then go for what you really want. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you're saying that I understand what you mean is they should start with some more of entry level positions.
Well, anything. Start with anything you can get, and then move up to what you really want to do.
Yes, and
so
when you say start with, of course, yeah, and they have to. I mean, this is life. So nothing is going to be perfect right from the get-go. So you say a good place to start could be working in aged care, working in community service, working in some rehab centers, right? This would be some good place to start.
Exactly, because they may not always require that you have, you know, all of the experience.
I got you. Do you have any names that you can, any big names of some employers you think that are quite you know, big in terms of employing people in Tasmania? Any big company names you could think of?
Well, I mean, just the big public hospitals for a start are a good place to start. You know, the Launceston General Hospital. I'm not sure what your Hobart Hospital is called.
Royal
Hobart? Yeah, Royal Hobart, that's right. And just sit down with a list of nursing homes, go online into the yellow pages or whatever document is easier, and just go through them all. Just apply to all of them. Most of them will say, you know, Glenara Lakes is part of Southern Cross. So Southern Cross is the big company that is underneath that. So that might be what you put in your Google search and what you go through the online recruitment part for.
But going through a nurse agency right now is not a good idea, isn't it? Because it requires a lot of experience to go through a nurse agency.
Yeah, and we don't have that graduate program to support them, which most agencies don't. Have you talked to Nurseline in Hobart?
Nurse what, sorry?
Nurseline.
Nah. How can I find that? How can I?
Just Google Nurseline, and they are the agency who work in Hobart.
Okay, so nurse flight, you say? How do you spell it? The second word.
Nurseline, Line.
Nurseline. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So they do what I do. Yeah. But I would think they might give you the same response about grads, but I can't speak for them, so I would give them a try. But they might have some other tips for your grads.
Yeah. Which brings me probably the last questions here, Sonia, is what would be the top 3 or 4 things you would suggest my graduates to do so that they can get the employer attention? Because I feel like nowadays we live in a world where there's so much distractions and there's so many things going on in the life of the employers, and sometimes unless these candidates can get the attention of the employer, they're not going to give them any chance, even if they are very good in terms of their skill. So what would you suggest these guys to do so they can catch their, you know, employer attention, so they can actually take these guys seriously, not just another CV, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's tricky. It's really tricky.
But that's true, right? Because I feel like attention nowadays, the attention span of employers is just like anyone else, is getting just smaller and smaller. So unless they say something correctly, or unless they say something that makes sense, it's just going to be like, whatever, let's just ignore him. You know?
I think perseverance is probably one of the things, Leo. Just keep trying. Follow up. you know, send the resume, give them a call a week later. Persistence, yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky to stand out. You know,
how about a video resume? Have you ever seen someone sending a video resume rather than, I mean, yes, a standard resume is good, but how about a video resume? Have you got anyone sending you a video?
No, but I think that's a good idea, Leo.
Yeah, because because that's what I teach my students to do is, yes, you still attach the standard resume,
Yes.
but also send them a quick link, about 2 minutes video of yourself, introducing yourself to them.
Yeah,
it
not
will
too
get
long
their
or they
attention.
won't watch it. Just
Exactly.
keep it short. Yeah. But no, I think
Absolutely.
that's a brilliant idea. Yeah, again, I don't have any magic answers to that one. I guess because I'm specifically agency, my key is looking for experience, but that advice doesn't help you at all. So, yeah, making a difference, send a little video, nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And how about, do you think they should do volunteer work for those who, just started? Should they start working
Yeah,
as a
why
volunteer?
not? If they're happy to do that, I think that's a great idea. It means you're keen, you're showing that you're interested, you're happy to, you know, it's a way of learning to, getting used to that facility or wherever you've gone. So yeah, why not? That means you're really keen if you're going to work for nothing. Yeah. But just be careful they don't get exploited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a two-sided blade, right?
Yeah.
It could
no,
backfire you.
You have better ideas than me, Leo. That's a great idea.
Yeah, because you don't want to work for free forever.
No, definitely not.
It doesn't help, especially if you live in Australia. It does cost a bit of money to live here.
Yes,
So.
yes, absolutely.
Sure. Thank you so much for your advice. Is there any last words you want to just share with them? Maybe some advice you want to just tell them before we finish today's talk?
Look, just like you said, man up, be brave, get out there, persevere. Some of it's just persevering, not giving up, and eventually you'll get what you want.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time today, Sonia. I appreciate your help. And
no problem,
if there
Leo.
is, yeah. I mean, I understand you're busy and you take time out of your schedule. If there's anything I can do to add value to your business in whatever ways or form, please let me know. I'm always want to be a part of the community and give back and just connect everyone together.
Sure.
So anything I can, you got my number. So
yes,
just
I've got all your details. I will do.
Because we run an education agency in Hobart, so
yeah,
pretty much we do a lot of education stuff, and also we train our students how to find jobs as well. So of course the tips we just shared, it's gonna make them more confident in their journey, of getting a job. So really appreciate
absolutely. I wish them all lots of luck.
Thank you so much, Sonia, for the time, and I look forward
Thank you,
to
Leo.
you soon.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.